Hi there, my name is James Heidema. The question today is, how do we help people through difficult times in their life? How do we move them towards action? As I said, the question is, how do we help people through difficult times and help them make decisions? You know, currently in the world right now, the world is really unsettled. We've gone through a couple of years of COVID, and that's had a dramatic effect on most of us. Most of us have been touched by it. My entire family got COVID and went through that process. I know that there are people who lost their jobs. I know people had their income interrupted. I know that people died from it. I know that people had critical symptoms and critical illnesses because of it. Now on top of that, we've got all this very unfortunate scenario between Russia and the Ukraine. And I feel that somewhat intensely because I'm married to a Ukrainian. And although we don't have family over there, my wife certainly does sort of feel the sadness that occurs of what's going on to the Ukrainians. What I'm finding, because I'm coaching so many people around the world, and in particular I'm coaching some people on the border with Ukraine, is that they're finding that the people they're talking to really feel immobilized. And that's not unusual for people to be immobilized in the middle of it. You know, at one point in my life, my wife and I lived in Israel, and we lived through the first Gulf War, which Saddam Hussein was bombing Israel. And every night during the war, the sirens would go off, Scud missiles would blow up, Patriot missiles would be fired. My wife and I and my two boys, 10 and 12, had gas masks that they took to school, gas masks that they wore often in the evening. We had a safe room because we were worried about gas and everything. So I've experienced war firsthand. And certainly I felt immobilized. Certainly I felt fearful. And so that's not unusual. What's happening is with a lot of financial advisors now is they're running into a number of people who are saying, I don't want to do anything because I'm afraid for the future. And first and foremost, we have to empathize with these people. We have to show our compassion, that we understand that the fear that they face is reasonable. But what we need to do as financial advisors is move them towards action. What we need to do is we need to help them take control of their environment. You know, people are going to need money for three things in their life, and I've talked about this before. They're going to need money for emergencies, when the car breaks down, when the fridge doesn't work, whatever. They're going to need money for opportunity, when they want to buy another car, want to buy a first apartment, go on a trip, whatever, a more significant expense. And finally, they're going to need money when they retire. You know, because regardless of what the government does or your company does, you need to do something yourself because it won't be enough. And I'm in that position. I am over the retirement age. I'm in my 76th year on this planet. And yes, I get money from the government, and they're fairly generous in Canada. I get money from where I've worked in the past, but I also have my own assets that I've invested over time. And you need all of that. And so the big thing that we will face, all of us in the future, is access to money, because that's how we manage our economy. And so when people are in this situation currently, that they're feeling fearful and they're feeling immobilized, we have to help them take action. So indeed that they take control of their environment. So they put themselves in the best possible positions so that if anything that life may throw at them in the future, they will have the assets available to deal with that. You know, this war that's happening between Russia and Ukraine, and it is a war, by the way, and that's about all I'll say about that, is in past wars, in past world wars, the invading army, what they would do is they'd come in and they'd seize the banks, and they would seize everyone's assets. So they'd empty their bank accounts and their safety deposit box, all of that, and people would be left with nothing. That's not possible today because banks don't have any money. The money isn't there. The money is in the air. And so for someone to come in and if they wanted to get to my bank account, unless they had my PIN card and my passwords, there's no way they could access my money because it doesn't exist where I live. It's somewhere else. And so people still should put aside money and not fearful that someone's going to take it. They should still build up their reserves. They should still protect themselves along the way. And the best thing they can do in these situations like this, when there's so much fear going on, is they can take control of their environment. That they can take control and say, okay, I'm gonna cut back a bit, I'm gonna save, I'm gonna protect, I'm gonna set aside, so that whatever life may face or offer to me, whatever I may face in my life, that would be an opportunity that I could access those capitals, and that would make my process through it, you know. We as financial advisors are in the business for two reasons. We're in the business to keep families together when the best things happen and the worst things happen. And so we protect them, we protect the family, we protect the individual, and we put them in the best financial position so that when the future comes along, that they have those choices and they have that dignity that they deserve. You know, people don't plan to fail, they just fail to plan. And our job is to help them plan. And so what we need to do when we're sitting down with the customers is we need to be a bit more direct, and we need to help them understand how we can help. At the same time, you know, we need to be compassionate. We need to empathize with them that indeed they are going through a difficult time. But what we want to do is move them towards action. So indeed they feel stronger as individuals, they feel in more control as individuals, and along the way they protect themselves, they protect their families, and they have the assets when they need the assets. And so I really encourage you as a financial advisor or a manager of financial advisors to really help the customer understand that yes, you do empathize, but we must take action, we must take control, because without control, the situation becomes much worse. We know because of COVID, people have lost their jobs. We know that people have had their income interrupted. We know that it's been really challenging. And so it's been a difficult period for society. We've not had an event like this of COVID in our history that's dramatically affected across the world. And people are a bit shell-shocked by it all. They're confused by it all, and they feel out of control. Well, we have the ability to give them control back. So I really encourage you to do that. Help your customers so they're in the best possible position. I hope you found value in this today. I look forward to talking to you in the future. Remember, share this, subscribe to it, and like it. It helps me build the channel. Thank you so much.